We are live on YouTube. We are almost live on Facebook.
Okay.
We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you have started watching the live video. Welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us. This episode is solely dedicated to answering any questions for those who are thinking of converting to Islam, think they know anything about Islam, or anything in between. Also, answering any questions we have, or be it on our YouTube channel, and for the first time, we are live streaming today to Atheist versus Christian Debate Center. I know it is strictly atheist versus Christian debate center group, but we are atheists, so yeah, I'm bending the rules a little bit this time. We are atheists. So if you have any questions related to that, please give us a shout. We will endeavor to answer any of your queries, questions, things you want to know about. So, one last thing I want to add. The reason why we started doing this episode is a short while ago we have realized, well, we already knew about it, but uh, it, it is something that came to our attention recently that, hold on, vast majority of Muslims in the world don't speak Arabic. Also, any new uh, people who want to convert to Islam, again, they don't speak Arabic, they are woefully being misled. Quran is in Arabic. Arabic is a very complicated language. And when you translate it, it gets even more complicated and vague. So we thought we might to dedicate a series of videos to try to explain some of these things that someone might have fooled you, basically, to put it mildly. And instead of doing these series of videos, we said let's start off a couple of live videos. We have just a free chat about what we know about Quran, Hadith, all these things, and how do they sound like when they are translated into English or other languages in the future. And then we will do a separate, somewhat uh, good production value videos for these things. With that intro out of the way, I welcome the good lady Ruby to. This is the first time Ruby joins us on our channel. Good day, my lady.
Thank you, Sam, for your nice greeting, and a good afternoon to the people on your side. Good morning to the people on my side in America. And let's yeah, and I agree. The translation of Quran actually was not permitted before the 18th century because all converts were forced to learn Arabic, or at least how to speak it, because any attempt to translate it would be actually an alteration or corruption of the original text. So it wasn't until later on when it started, since there were other converts to Islam, and there was a need for the translation, especially that the first translations were done by Christians who they thought, or the Islamic body in certain places thought that they are misleading. So that's why it started the translation, maybe first in India and then it started other places. Now we have a full body of translation all over the internet and also in the bookstores. Yeah,
But I might hastily add here that there are multiple translations that might be totally different.
definitely.
Because, yeah, because
Yeah,
again,
definitely.
Arabic is a big language, so people still debating the meaning of the word sky. Sky in Quran, they are still debating what does it mean. In Arabic, it's sama. Yeah, there's at least five different interpretations for it from Arabic to Arabic, let alone in English.
Yes, and the translation itself also it's full of it's plagued with biases, with sectarian bias. So it depends on what's your origin. If you are a Shiite, then or don't believe, for instance, in supernatural, what some translators did, they didn't. For instance, they translated it a little bit different, like jinn or genie. They didn't stress on those points or explained it away. So it has a lot of biases, cognitive biases, as well as sectarian biases and other kind of noise that went into the translation. That's why you have a big differences in all the translation that we have today.
So you say the word jinn might mean something different between Sunni and Shiite, basically.
No, I think it was Ali, some Ali something. He was not a believer in a supernatural. He didn't have the supernatural, so he explained it away. That was his interpretation of jinn, like to take it allegorically, not to take it as a real. Although jinn in Islam is as real as anything else that's real. Jinn is a genie instance, but it's a real thing. It's not just has a symbolic name or anything. But and he did. If you want me, I can read something for you.
I will definitely would like you to read something back, but in the meantime, I'd like to welcome our good friend ex-Muslim ID. He is a usual guest on our channel, and we welcome him on this first episode in English regarding this subject. Welcome, my friend.
Hello, Sam. How are you? How are you, Ruby? I'm enjoying your conversation, and I would like to learn more from Ruby about
Yeah,
the
let's throw it back at Ruby.
discrepancies between all the translations and interpretations and whatever it is. So I'm listening.
Thank
Yes,
you very much, my friend. Yeah,
according
Ruby,
to
please go ahead. By the way, when you say Ali, you do mean Ali ibn Abi
Muhammad
Talib.
Ali. His name is Muhammad Ali. He's a prominent, one of the prominent translators that his books has gone, viral. And
Okay, so you mean there's an Islamic scholar called Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali, yeah.
You don't mean
So,
Imam Ali.
no, Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
According to the Middle East Forum, says both Muhammad Ali's disbelief in the miraculous and his disdain for Judaism and Christianity undercut his work in other ways. The Quran makes frequent mention of jinn, spirit, from which the English word genie is derived. Muhammad Ali curiously argues that the Quran equates jinn with Jews and Christians, like they are the believers and not Muslims, while the Quran supports the story of Jesus' virgin birth. Muhammad Ali denies it.
So
Provide
Ruby, you mean jinns are Christians and Jews?
No,
Not like.
what he's saying is that this is a belief that was for the Jews and the Christians who believe in genies, but for Muslims there is no such thing as genies. So it's basically was taken from other. So he puts those in a footnote, although he's not supposed to do that.
That's totally the opposite, I guess.
To
Right?
imply Well, actually, what he's doing is he tries to impress others, non-Arabic speakers, that Quran or the scripture is up to the date, our date. Like these supernatural are not a part of Islam, and he denies the virgin birth too, although Quran does not deny it. So this is
But Quran does not confirm it. It's not clearly spelled out in Quran the virgin birth, does it? No, it does not.
I'm
No, it
not sure
is.
about that.
It is
Nope.
because it was explained in details even, right?
No, it doesn't say virgin birth. It says they God
No,
blew his breath
when it
into her,
says
and she's never been touched before. Doesn't say she was virgin and then she got pregnant.
then okay, it's never been touched before. So it means it's I don't know, virgin.
Never been, never been touched by human or a genie.
Oh, genie, yeah, genie can touch too.
Yeah, but then God blew his spirit into her. So
So
that can
it's
be
touched now.
metaphorical. That can be metaphorical.
Yeah, but
So she's not a
it's
virgin after
clear.
that.
It's clear that yeah, she's been a virgin, and
You see, you
the
can,
whole process was explained, right? Like تمثل لها بشرا سويا. I mean,
Yes.
the Holy Spirit, he became human,
No, you're talking
and
about the impregnation, not the birth. By the time she gave birth, she wasn't a virgin anymore. When she was
oh yeah, technically,
impregnated
of
with the
course,
Holy Spirit, she was a virgin. Yes. But any
yeah.
virgin, when she is impregnated, she's a virgin until she is impregnated, be it by a
Yeah.
normal man or a Holy Spirit.
Okay, I got your point. I guess you're right in this one.
I think that's what Muhammad Ali's point. That's what I mean.
yeah.
By the way, we are talking about the Surah Al-Naba, verse 91, which says in Arabic, وَالَّتِي أَحْصَنَتْ فَرْجَهَا. Ironically, in English, it means and the one who guarded her chastity. The literal Arabic translation of that, if I'm going to literally explain it, this podcast needs to be rated 18 plus.
It's a chastity belt.
Yeah, so the one who was wearing a chastity belt.
Chastity belt.
That's how they translate it into English. Sorry, Ruby, please continue. Sorry for the interruption.
No, I'm done. This is what I meant. Most of the translators were not sincere in their translation, even if they tried to be. But there was a lot of cognitive biases, a lot of cherry picking, a lot of footnoting. So it's all in all, to understand the body of the translation, you have to read a lot of those translation and still not understand the real meaning for some words. Like in one of them, if you allow me, I will go to another
Please,
example.
please do.
Yeah, the one that says وَإِذْ يُمْكِرْ بِكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لِيَثْبِتُوكَ أو يقتلونك أو يخرجوك ويمكرون ويمكر الله والله خير الماكرين. And this, for instance, you have one translation says, and recall how those who disbelieved schemed against you to take you captive or kill you or drive you away. They schemed, and Allah did also scheme. Allah is the best of those who scheme. Now, scheme is the word, supposedly, it's the word or the translation for makr in Arabic, or yumkir. Another translation called it planner, who plans, as yumkir. And from the dictionary, Al-Ma'ani dictionary, it means cunning, it means deceitful, it means skillful, it means subtle, foxiness, astuteness, craftiness, style, double dealing. Like all these could be the meaning for what they put as planning. And planning has a different meaning completely. And if somebody reads that, how could a god, be deceitful or be cunning?
No,
You
you're absolutely right. The first word that came to my mind when I was thinking how to translate yumkir, makar, ila etc. All I was thinking of is a fox, sly as a
know,
fox.
yes. slyness.
Exactly. So sly as a fox, that
Yes.
means marker. Marker, sly as a fox. And the verse says God is the best marker, the best sly as a fox. He is
See,
the fox, the foxiest of all foxes.
and in this translation, you can see that the translator was a bit I don't know how to say it, but cautious in approaching it, because if you are um, confronted by non-speaking Arabic people, for us, when we read the Arabic speaking, when we read Quran, we don't really take, we don't really literally think about each word. We know it as a sing song, like some verse that we say and we were brought up with it. So it just stick to us like something sacred. We never think about the literal translation or the interpretation of that. But for somebody who wants to translate it, I think he's finding a hard time here with words like this, like makr. How can he say that God is deceitful? Uh, God is a sly. It's very hard. So and words like this in Quran is a lot of these. So the translator, I think, um, had a hard time there. I would have a hard time if I were the one. By the way, the best translation, which was done lately, is done by a scholar, a Swiss scholar. His name is uh, um, I forgot his name. Deep um, Muslim, ex-Muslim,
Sami Deep.
Samid Deep. Yeah, Samid Deep not only translated it to more than one language and a good translation, the word-to-word translation, he also uh, chronologized chronologized chronically. He did it chronically because Quran is a distributed verses. If you read it all together, you will not understand it. But he put it in chronological order. So
That's a good way to
historically,
do it.
yes, historically, you can see which verses came what, and you can have an idea of what was going on, either be it in Mecca period or Medina period, because also there are a lot of verses in the Medina period that abrogated the one in Mecca. So some of these verses, for instance, have no meaning, although they're still there in the Quran, but they have no meaning because of the problem of contradicting each other. So the ones that came later abrogated the ones that came earlier. And you can check online for all those abrogated verses, you can find them.
This is a very funny subject, abrogation. I would say many people don't know about which. What does it mean in Arabic? It means it says it's nasikh and mansukh.
Replacing.
But non-Arabic speakers don't even know these things, which means there are verses in the Quran means absolutely nothing because they were replaced by something else later on. And one of those things is the verse that every cute, peaceful Muslim actually use every time. Well, it is said in the Quran, "Lakum dinakum waliyadini," means you have your own religion, I'll have mine. Everybody can do whatever they want. Yeah, no, that verse was used in the early days of Islam when Muhammad and his people were weak. They didn't have enough the numbers, so they were afraid of prosecution by others. So they said, "Well, yeah, you keep your religion, I'll keep mine. We have no issues. We're all good here, mates. Don't worry, we're not here to fight." Guess what? A few years later, when he has a whole city and a whole army, there was another verse that came in who abrogated that one, and it said, "قاتلوا من قاتلوا من أشرك بالله." So fight those who don't believe in God. So it's gone. It doesn't mean anything.
Well,
as if it doesn't exist.
when you ask them, they would say you are taking that out of context. Why? They cherry pick. They take some other verses
I
out.
hate context.
Yeah, they do that. Okay, let me give you an example here of how can not only some take it out of context.
Robbie, they use two terminology. The Muslims, when you debate them, you're going out of context, or you are changing the subject. I mean, when did I change subject? Why are you trying to, like, I'm getting phobic now. Go ahead, Robbie. Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention a lot of times we heard after 9/11, we heard also ex-President Obama when he mentioned this, and for this reason we ordained in one of his speeches, he said when he was defending Muslims, American Muslims, he referred to this verse saying, and for this reason we ordained the children, he said, whoever has killed a single human without just cause, it is as if he has killed the entire humankind. And he who giveth life to one, it is as if he gave life to all. So this one verse actually was divided. He didn't say the whole verse. The whole verse of Al-Ma'idah 5:32-42 says, and for this reason we ordained the children of Israel that whoever has killed a single human without just cause, it is as if he has killed the entire humankind, etc. See, so this one is not something that is ordained to Muslims. He was talking about the Jews, and the story is completely different. So how come you take this out of context? And other stuff like the one you mentioned a while ago, which I think I have here.
But even with this example, even if we say, okay, let's ignore the Israelites, let's ignore he was directing this, he was talking to the sons of Israel, the Jews and all that. Okay, the key here is unjustly or without just cause. So that's it. That's your get out of jail card. They can kill whoever they want if they can convince themselves it's just. We have a reason. We have a just reason. So someone will say, these are infidels, go kill them. That's a just cause. So that's exactly the same verse will give them reason to kill someone.
Here is the verse you're talking about. And prepare against him whatever you are able of power, and the steed of war by which you may terrify the enemy of Allah and your enemy and others beside them who you do not know.
Sorry, my lady, it's not terrify enemies of Allah.
Huh?
The Arabic word was it? What was it? The Arabic word?
ترهبون به عدو الله.
Irhab in English means
terrorize.
Terrorize.
Yes.
Terrorism.
Exactly.
It's terrorism. The word terrorism is in the Quran.
And whatever you spend in the cause of Allah.
You're changing the subject, Wissam.
So I have here 3 translations: Ali Onal and Ahmed Ali and Ahmed Riza Khan, and these are also very prominent translators, and all of them you see footnotes or in between brackets, like let's say in between brackets, believers, make ready against them whatever you can of force and horses against, between brackets, the war. So you see this. So that one was general, but this one, it put the war. And if you go back to some people may say, okay, so this is because they were talking after I think Badr invasion.
Battle of Badr.
Battle of Badr, yeah. So it's an invasion actually. So
Yeah.
if if you and that was for that time. Although you have a consensus between ulama that this verse abrogates all the other verses. This was in Medina, and it abrogates all the other verses that contradicts with it. Do you remember ex-Muslim that the abrogation verse? There is an abrogation verse in the Quran.
Yes, the ayah of the sword. Yeah, the ayah to save.
Exactly. What does it say? Do you remember it?
Um, I'm
Give it
having a
to
bad
me in
memory right
Arabic.
now.
General.
وما نأتي لكم بآية لا ننسخها or something.
يا وما ننسخ من آية أو ننسها
No,
نأتي
أو
بخير
ننسخ.
مثلها أو مثلها.
Yeah.
So whenever we supersede
Yeah,
any verse with another
that's
one,
in Baqarah. That's in Baqarah, verse 106. ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسها نأتي بخير منها. So whenever we abrogate a verse, we don't forget it, but we bring something better than it or just like it.
To replace.
so why do you supersede something with the same thing? I mean,
It's like Windows, mate. You have to keep updating it. The hardware is getting better and better. But sometimes the update is even worse than the one before that, like the latest Windows
yeah,
10
it
update.
doesn't make
I'm missing
sense.
clicks on my mouse. So Quran sometimes misses clicks as well.
It doesn't make sense when you supersede something with when you supersede with something better. That's okay, but when you supersede something with the same thing, that doesn't make sense. I don't know.
But that's not the only thing that doesn't make sense in Quran.
Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah.
Can we move on to
Sure.
to something rated 18? Well, it's not 18, 16 plus. It's not that 18. So in terms of difference of
PG-13
translations,
is good.
PG-13. No, this one is definite. No, not PG-13. Maybe in France, not in the UK or the US. So Surah Al-Naba 78:33, it describes what the believers, those who are willing to give themselves to God, what will they get when they go to heaven? And they use this funny term, كواعب أترابا. So this.
Oh yeah, how did they translate this?
So in terms of difference of
You're getting me
translation,
curious now.
if you go to clearquran.com, كواعب أترابا, it says it will mean splendid spouses well matched. So
What?
kawaib apparently
Like
it means
eharmony.com?
splendid spouse, and atraba means well matched. So this might give the indication to someone who doesn't speak Arabic that, oh, so this is dedicated to everybody, be it male or female. When you go to heaven, you'll have a splendid spouse, because it used spouse, not wife or husband.
No,
But in
Hur
reality,
Ain are not spouses. Come on.
well, that's what the translation says. And by the way, that's in clearquran.com, not in Quran.com.
Because when you say spouse, you're killing the buzz here.
You in Quran.com, it says full-breasted companions of equal age. So Kawahib, it says full-breasted, and they added companion to it. Companion it has no mention in that verse, nowhere. So it just says full-breasted brackets companion of equal age. Atraba is equal age. I'll give you that. It's fine. And in Clear Quran, it says well matched, so similar to Atraba. It's fine. Well matched, equal age. They're all the same, because don't forget, you're getting 73 of them. So all 73, they all are of the same age. So that's what Atraba means.
72.
Sorry, 72. You're absolutely right. Sorry. Yeah, there's one more.
No, but
what's one more
Wissam,
between friends?
72, and each one of them has also 72 mates.
72. Yeah, 72 chaperone.
Chaperone, yeah.
Chaperone.
Or
Also,
here's the thing. No, but here's the thing. Kawa'ib doesn't mean splendid spouse and doesn't mean full-breasted. It's far from full. There's a horrible meaning behind it. Qawa'id came from the word, it's driven from Ka'ab. Ka'ab is the heel of the foot, and it is used to describe a girl, a young adolescent girl, just reached puberty and her breasts started to grow and they look like the shape of the heel of the foot.
Of a little cute,
Just
cute.
just take a second there. The creator of the universe, billions and trillions of galaxies and planets and stars, he is enticing his believers by adolescent girls just reach their puberty, so they barely have breasts. 72 of them.
I have another explanation for that, which I heard from one of the mullahs one time.
Mhm.
At their time, women used to be completely covered, so they couldn't tell an old woman from a younger woman. So they could tell from the heels of their foot, because they were barefooted. From the heel of the foot, you can tell if the feet is young or old. So
That's pure lies.
Really?
These
that
are
was his explanation.
pure lies. Simply because the answer is again in the Quran. Which verse in the Quran is used to justify hijab? There's one verse in the Quran justifies, or at least it is used to say hijab.
None.
No, there's one. It is used. It's not. It's not says hijab, but it's the one that is used to justify hijab. What does it say? جيوبكم اضربوا على جيوبكم.
قل النساء المؤمنين يضربن
يضربون على
بخمرهن
جيوبهن.
على جيوبهن. And by the way, even this Arabic verse needs an Arabic interpretation.
Exactly. That's why they have. There it
Muslim
is.
clerics have been fighting, you know,
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It's in
about the exact meaning of this one. Yeah.
found it in Surah An-Nur, verse 31. وَيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُورِهِنَّ عَلَى جِيوبِهِنَّ. جِيوبِهِنَّ means their chests.
Yes.
That's what it means. So your veils,
No,
let them cover your
Shahrur said
chest.
something different. جيوبهن means something different.
This is one of the verses that was taken out of context. Answer me.
But
Because the story behind that is that at all times, women at night when they go out, they didn't have bathrooms, so they had a hole in the ground, basically. So when they go out of their tents, the women go out of their tents. They used to have something on their head, and it would be flapping with the wind, so their chests will show. So that's what he said. Put these, so that you want for only the free woman, not the slave, because the slave didn't have this cover. So he asked them to put this cover on their breasts so that they would be known as free and they will not molest them.
Yeah, by the way, Omar, the story about Omar bin Khattab when he saw one slave lady, she was covered and everything.
It's Ali bin Omar. It's the son of Omar used to do that. He used to beat them up.
No, Omar bin Khattab. I'm sure about it.
Omar himself. Okay, that's correct.
Yeah, and he saw her and he hit her with a stick or something, and he said, "Are you trying to imitate a free lady
free woman?
Or free woman? Yeah, just be yourself and be naked."
Exactly. Go. Exactly, because their aura is different. But having said that, let's get back to the original subject. So this mullah who said women used to be covered head to toe and only their heels appeared, that actually doesn't mean anything, because this verse specifically says the fashion of those days, it wasn't like that. It was, they were semi-nude all the time until Islam came in and specifically said, just to distinguish yourself between a free woman and a slave woman, be it Muslim or not, just cover your breasts, honey. Just don't show them to everyone. That's what the verse says. So this is an evidence from the Quran itself that the fashion of the time wasn't to cover head to toe. Just cover your breast. That's what it said.
And if you see now a Muslim woman all over, they either don't understand the verse or they've taken hijab as an identity, just to
Yeah, it's a tradition.
the
Yeah.
crowd. It's not a religious thing, because that's not what the verse says. And if they don't take this in its context, then how come they're taking others? When you say other things like the jihad verses, they say no. This is you have to read it in its context. So there's a lot of biases here.
Of course, it's not. No, I wouldn't say biases. It's lack of knowledge. I always say lots of Muslims, all they know about Islam is from the movie The Message. That's what they know about Islam. So, be it if they're English speaking, they know the English version of the movie. So, Anthony Quinn and Sophie Loren, those were the stars of the movie. Anthony Quinn was Hamza, the Prophet's uncle, and Sophie Loren was Hind,
I
the one
don't
who
believe there was Sophia Loren there.
I don't
no,
think Sophia Loren was in that.
No.
who was Hind in the movie? Oh,
I'm
for
not
crying out
sure.
Yeah, it wasn't Sophia Loren. Someone else.
I can Google it.
I am googling it right now.
No,
The,
Sophia
the,
Loren
the,
is
the
too
Google of
sexy for
movies,
him.
the IMDb, the message. Anthony Quinn and Irene Papas. Sorry,
Yes,
Irene
Yeah,
Papas. Well,
yes,
yeah, you can forgive me for getting the two mixed
that's
up. They're both
that's
they're
old,
both
very
gorgeous.
old.
it's okay.
They're both gorgeous. So that's what they know about Islam. The Arabic version also, it was a star-studded movie. And it was full of falsehoods. The whole movie, everything in it, historically, from Sharia point of view, Hadith point of view, many incidents in the movie didn't happen in what the historians say or what the
It's a Hollywood.
Hadith say.
It's a
It,
Hollywood.
it's a Hollywood. Who was the director? Mustafa Al-Akkad. He's the producer of half of the horror movies, famous horror movies in Hollywood. So he knows
Halloween.
the
Yeah.
ins and outs of Hollywood. He over dramatized the whole thing, and that's what they know about Islam. That's what it is. Recently, I was talking to by the way, I was talking to a Muslim lady. She's a bit open-minded, and I was laughing my head off because of something I read on Facebook, and she said, well, "What was it?" And I said, and, and then I tried to explain to her that in Sharia, officially, when Islam talks about the period of birth, sorry, the pregnancy period, from a Sharia point of view, ignore science. From Islam point of view, it's 2 to 4 years, depending on who you talk to. It's not less than 2. What are you talking about? Yeah, if you ask someone who works in Al Azhar, for example, so the half of the Arab world actually use Azhar as the final say when it comes to anything Islam related, they will say 3 years. That's the period of pregnancy. And she was gobsmacked. She said I was lying. That can't be right. Okay, woman, there it is. YouTube. Some Azhar cleric. There it is. Here's a clip from someone from Azhar. He's talking. He said 3 years. There's no way around it. They don't know. So those people, she was Arabic. She speaks Arabic. She knows nothing about Islam, let alone the other 75% of the Islamic population. They don't speak Arabic. They've never read an Arabic word. They have no idea. Last week, my broadcast was with Walid, famous for his channel Video Vids. He does impressions of Zakir Naik. He's an expert. He's Pakistani. Yeah, he's a lovely guy. He's Pakistani. He doesn't speak Arabic, and his only knowledge of Quran was based on the translations he got or the imam in the neighborhood that explained things to him. So of course it will be full of lies. Has nothing. Nobody will explain Qawaid al now. Nobody will explain that to him. It means just pubescent girls. That's horrible. That's one of the things that really, really annoys me. That specific verse. It's really annoying. Very has
Wissam,
pedophilia linked to it.
may I ask you a favor?
Sure.
could you look for the translation of the ayah والمحصنات من النساء إلا ما ملكت أيمانكم? I'm trying to find it.
I think I have
I
it.
couldn't find. Yeah,
I'll look
couldn't
into
find
it.
nothing.
Yeah.
You
Sorry,
mean-
Ruby, you had something to add?
No, I can look for that.
Okay, while you look for that, I will talk about the other one from Surah Al-Nazi'at 79, 27 to 28. The verses talk about how God created the sky, but the translations talk about, they're translated into, it talks about heaven, as in the place that good Muslim will go to after death. But the
Oh,
verse
that's
doesn't talk
completely
about
different.
heaven. Heaven and sky are different things. So to an English speaker, when we say sky, they know what it is. Sky is basically what we see with our eyes, but it's basically space. We are in the sky. That's what we are. It's not something that is high above us. But most of Quran, it's very clear. When the Quran talks about the sky, it says sama, sky. But when it talks about heaven, it will say Jannah or Jannat or Jinan. These are the words used for heaven. Not a single time
paradise,
in
yeah.
the Quran it says paradise or heaven. Yeah, so for paradise and heaven it would say sky. No, not once. Always use Jannah, Jinan, Jannat, Jannat al-Na'im, etc., etc. It not once used the word sky to refer to heaven or paradise. Both clearquran.com and Quran.com translated it into heaven, because when you read it in Arabic, what it says, verbatim translation, so verbal translation, it says holds the sky aloft. So God holds the sky aloft without any columns, without anything keeping it up, as if the sky is something solid and it needs to be above us.
Yeah, because it's a
Ignoring the
dome.
fact we are
Mhm.
living on Earth and it's a globe and sky is everything around us. There is no up and down, left or right, east or west. We are in the sky. So what
That
will
was
fall
their
on us?
knowledge at that time. That was their knowledge, you know.
Exactly,
Yeah,
that's what they
that was
knew.
the belief. Yeah, since the Judaism and Christianity, they believe that Earth is flat and it's covered with a big dome,
So it's
and
human
yeah.
written. It's not something that's
So this is what even Quran it says that it's a ceiling, سقف
yeah.
سقفا مرفوعا يعني.
By the
Exactly, yes.
way, by the way,
Yes.
heavens could also mean sky in English. Could also mean sky. So I
In
know.
English, yes, yeah, and yeah, in passing, people can say, yeah, the heavens opened up. That
Yes.
when they want to say it's raining, but at the same
Actually,
time, they say
the,
it's raining cats and dogs. That doesn't mean it's literally raining cats and dogs.
But
the
mostly
verb,
Ruby they use it for even paradise or God Himself, heaven. Like sometimes they say only heaven knows. So
yeah, exactly.
it has a like religious meaning to it, not like cosmological or something.
Actually, the verse you pointed to is very interesting. I'm finding interesting things here. Very
What is it?
Did you find it?
Yeah. It says, and between brackets, the between brackets means the addition. So,
Yes, the translator added it to make it clear.
yeah, added, the translator added his. This is from Quran.com. It says, and between brackets, also prohibited to you are all, then, close brackets, married women except those your right hand possesses. This is, between brackets, the decree of Allah upon you. And lawful to you are, between brackets also, all others beyond these, provided, between brackets, that you seek them, between brackets, in marriage with, between brackets, from your
Marriage.
property. But we'll explain this to everybody later on. But we're just I just found it a little interesting. Desiring chastity, not unlawful sexual intercourse.
What?
What? So what now? Whoa.
It says, okay, let me read it without the brackets.
He's killing the fun.
Okay, let me read it without the
By
bracket.
the hold on, before you do it, which surah you're talking about? Surah An-Nisa,
And
Nisa
Nisa, yes.
424.
verse 3,
424.
424. Okay, go on.
Okay, let me read it without the brackets and then read it with the brackets. This is easier.
Mm-hmm.
And married woman, except those your right hand possesses, the decree of Allah upon you and lawful to you are beyond these, that you seek them with your property, desiring chastity, not unlawful sexual intercourse. So for
Wow.
whatever you enjoy from them, give them their due compensation as an obligation, and there is no blame upon you for what you mutually agree to beyond the obligation. Indeed, Allah is ever knowing and wise. Let me read it now with the brackets. And also prohibited to you all married women except those your right hands possesses. This is the decree of Allah upon you, and lawful to you are all others beyond these, provided that you seek them in marriage with gifts from your property, desiring chastity, not unlawful sexual intercourse. So for whatever you enjoy of marriage from them, give them their due compensation as an obligation, and there is no blame upon you for what you mutually agree to beyond the obligation. Indeed, Allah is is ever knowing and wise.
So
The
the
translator here, he committed kufr now. He's denying what God is ordering him to do,
He's
because
putting words
there's
and
no.
he's putting words in God's mouth.
yeah.
Exactly, and this is not what God meant. What God meant is that since they are what your right hand possesses and has no limit, which means all the ladies that you gained from war or something like that, and
Or
you
by.
are not forced to marry them. There shouldn't be any lawful marriage in between. They are your slaves, and they never mention the word slaves. They are your slave, a woman slave, and you have the right. You are free to do whatever you want with them. You can sleep with them whenever you want, without even ask the lady.
Well,
This
The
is a
marriage,
real,
the
yeah.
now
marriage.
now we are talking about rape here. So rape doesn't exist
No,
in Islam between a man and a wife or a man and his woman slave.
Rape is lawful in Islam, since it's after war. You gained it's a war gift for you.
it's not only the girls that unmarried woman; it's married women, because
Yeah, that's
Yes,
a different subject. Yeah, absolutely right. Yes, but that is a
there
different
is a
that's
subject.
even
story.
worse.
Yeah, there's a story behind that. That even they who were the converts in Islam, they were embarrassed to do this. And they in their ethics, they couldn't rape or take somebody else's woman. So Arabs were known for that. So they're embarrassed and they're asking the Prophet if they could do that, and he says, "Yes, you can do that. This is what Allah gave to you. This is your bounty."
Yeah, no,
Exactly,
yeah, you're
exactly.
absolutely right. Before we
And if
continue with that, I
any,
just want to address the our followers on YouTube. I am truly sorry. I know every time you expect us to be talking in English, but this time this video is addressed solely to those Muslims who doesn't speak Arabic, or those who are thinking of converting to Islam who don't know Arabic. So we are trying to demist some of the issues around that. So I am terribly sorry about that, but this video
exactly,
is
yeah.
in English. So let's
And
get back to the subject. We are talking about
yes,
what is called
I would like
Sabaya
just to
Altas.
send. Yep, Sabai Altas. Yeah. So I just would like to mention to any, like any new converts to Islam, or other people who are thinking to do so. If they don't believe what we're saying, they can go ahead and read the explanations from other books, the interpretation of Quran. For example, there are like well-known clerics like Ibn Kathir. Let them read what Ibn Kathir said about this verse, and he said clearly that the Muslims, the fighters there, they were embarrassed to like
But
to
let's put
sleep.
some historical context before we continue. Let me explain something. So
Hmm.
during the days when Muslims used to conquer all the areas around, so they were expanding. They were the Islamic version of the Crusades. So they got to an area called Al-Bas, and before Islam, it
Yeah,
used to
it's
be
next to
known,
Mecca. Yep.
obviously. So it is. There were warring factions all the time before Islam, so it is normal. You raid another tribe. What you do is you kidnap their women, and they are yours. You own them. You can sell them, or you can have them as
Yeah, they're your
sex slaves
slaves.
or slaves.
Exactly. Hmm.
So these things were normal during the time, but because they were Arabs, so they were chivalrous a bit. So they were like knights of the realms, something like that. So part of the norms at the time, if that woman was married, they wouldn't take her as a sex slave because she was married.
Especially that their husbands also were slaves. Like they were there also slaves with the others.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
by
She
the
is
way,
married, her
they used
husband
to
is still
know
alive. So yeah,
they
this
used to
is the
know each
norm.
other. The men,
Well,
they used to know each other. They know
that's
the
not.
husbands
Yeah,
also.
so we've
Yeah.
just
So
given the issue. So I'm just giving a historical context before we continue.
hmm
The norm at the time, a man shouldn't actually take a woman as a slave after a raid if they know for a fact she is married and her husband is alive. Be it they know her husband of a high status or not, that has nothing to do with it. She's married, yeah, we're not taking her. She's been taken, that's it. That's the only moral thing to do. Islam came in, they started to expand, they got to Al-Fars, so they got some new women and they were married. And the fighters, the Muslim fighters, they knew they were married. What do? They go back to the only source of morality and ex-Muslim continue.
only source of morality. Yeah, they they went back to him and they asked him. And they said, "Listen, those ladies, we used to know their husbands, and they're still alive, by the way, and they're still married. So, but now they are our slaves. Are we allowed to sleep with them? Are we allowed to have a sexual intercourse with them?" Um, then he was thinking a little bit, I think. Then suddenly this verse came all the way from up there down to earth, and he said, وَالْمُحْصَنَاتُ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ إِلَّا مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. It means all married women are not allowed for you to sleep with unless they are your slaves or your bounty from this war. So he said clearly, Ibn Kathir, he said, which is hadith, it was hadith. He said, فَاسْتَحْلَلْنَا فُرُوجَهُنْ. It means their vagina were permitted for us.
Well, halal
And yeah, I mean,
became
that's it.
halal.
And if you don't
Exactly,
believe
become
us,
halal.
guys, you can go ahead
Like a
and
meat,
read all
like
these
a meat,
books.
halal meat.
Halal, yeah. So it's sad. It's I mean, any new converts, he should know about this stuff. Some people, spent years and years in Islam, and suddenly when they discovered this verse, suddenly they converted back to something else than Islam. So don't
But
waste
they,
your time.
but they don't, these new converts or those who were born as Muslims, but they're not Arabs, which is the case with 75% of Muslims around the world, they don't know about these things, do they?
No, the most important thing for me, I mean, for the ones that I know, my friend married a Christian person, and the minute, of course, if she married him, he has to convert, and he wasn't a churchgoer, or even didn't even he wasn't an atheist, but didn't care about religion, and but he converted because he wanted to marry her, and the family gave him hell, practically speaking, to make sure that he is a Muslim. They would take him to mosques. He has to pretend that he is fasting in Ramadan and all this. And then when I asked him, he said, well, I can, if I don't like it, I can just get out and deconvert. I said, you cannot do that. Not in the Islamic religion. It's not the same. If you get into the religion, it's like walking on a carpet of roses. But when you leave, it's like walking on your own blood, because then you will be an apostate. And the punishment for apostasy is
Death.
capital punishment. Yeah.
Mm.
And not only with the state, any person can take that on his responsibility and kill you and gain benefits in here and after. This is, and this is has happened a lot of times in the history of the Islamic history. So it's converting to Islam is one thing, and deconverting is something else. As long as you are not a Muslim, you're fine with your belief. But once you become a Muslim, you cannot unbecome a Muslim.
Yeah, there's no going out. Once you go, because even the differences between Sunnis and Shiites when it comes to apostasy, uh, uh, Shiites and Muslims, both of them, distinguish between if you're born if you're born Muslim and then you decided to leave Islam, or if you were converted to Islam and you decided to leave Islam. So the converts will be slightly lenient with them, but if you're born Muslim and you decide to leave Islam, no, hell will break loose. But the gist of it in either cases, it will be, you will be, what was it? It's not interrogation, but they will try to convince you for 3 days in a row. Yeah, don't do that, mate. We'll definitely cut off your heads. Do you have any questions? Let me explain Islam to you, basically. If you leave, I kill you. That's basically it. So, what other questions do you have? Well, the Quran says holds the sky. No, no, no. Translation is if you leave, I kill you. They keep saying that for 3 days. And by the end of the 3 days, he either say, yeah, you convinced me, mate. That's it. I'm back.
You're reminding me of Jeff Dunham,
Yeah, that's what I was
the
trying to do.
comedian.
I kill you.
I'll kill you.
Ahmed.
Al-Qardawi is the one of the Islamic. He is considered for a large body of Muslims. As the Pope. Uh,
Mhm.
he mentioned one time. He said that if it wasn't for apostasy law, you will not see a Muslim in this religion. So this is what's keeping this religion going up to now.
And that's
Of
terrorism,
course,
by
he
the
is
way.
referring to the wars that Abu Bakr had to go through right after the death
No,
of the
no,
Prophet.
no, no. He was specifically uh,
Uh,
addressing apostasy and
mhm.
Muslim. And once you become a Muslim, you're a Muslim, even if you're not born in Islam. You are a Muslim. So if it wasn't for this law, there would be no. So he was talking about it in a pride kind of, that this is how we're
Mm.
seeing Islam going, and it's gonna also go to eternity.
I'd like to mention also translation
Sorry,
about one.
before you mention my friend, I just need to
Mhm.
excuse myself for 10 minutes. I'll be back soon. Sorry,
Okay.
keep
Okay.
going.
Yeah, there is hadith, which is they call it hadith Ma'iz. Uh,
Tradition.
uh, yeah, this guy he committed adultery and he came and confessed. He admitted it in front of Muhammad, the prophet of Islam. So he kept, Muhammad tried to, like give him some excuses. He said, "Did you really sleep with her?" He said, "Yeah."
With the
He
with the
said,
goat,
"With the lady."
with the
No,
lady.
the name of the guy is Ma'az. I
Oh,
don't know
okay.
why. Ma'az means
Maz
goat,
means goat, so I
but
got confused there.
maybe they meant goat, the great of all time,
Okay.
the greatest. Anyway, so he kept asking Ma'az, the guy Ma'az. He said, maybe you just kissed her. He said, no, 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 I slept with her. He said, maybe you just hugged her or something. He said, no, 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 no. Then at the end in Arabic, and it's 18 plus words, and this word came in hadith, and this hadith is sahih, which means it's 80 or 90%. It came from Muhammad himself,
It's a
his mouth.
consensus of the tradition of Muhammad. There's a consensus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then Muhammad, I think he got a little bit intimidated by the guy, and he said in Arabic, "Aniktaha." so so now now
That means did you penetrate her in a
yeah,
way?
exactly. I mean then I looked for the translation for that, and I was really curious how they translate this one. So they picked a very nice word. They said, then Prophet Muhammad said, without any euphemism, he said, did you copulate with her? Copulate.
Copulate.
I mean, no, that's not what the word means.
No.
What Muhammad said, you have to translate the same. You are getting out of context here. You are getting out of
Yeah,
context.
he literally used the F word.
Exactly. So if you are sincere enough, you have to translate this word as it is. Okay. So, but copulate, no. I mean, copulate, it's full of euphemism already.
Funny you should mention that, because a marriage certificate in Islamic marriage certificate is
Mhm.
called the F certificate. When
I
I
mean,
first,
yeah,
when I
yeah.
first saw it, I was really,
So I was planning to have just a quick smoke, just a tiny bit of fag, and come back again, but I couldn't help myself. You started talking about 18 plus subjects, so I
Yeah,
just took
quit.
two breaths and
We,
came
we,
back again.
we wanted you to quit smoking with some.
No, no.
So we should keep telling you 18 plus stories.
So here's the thing: in Islam, nikah means marriage. In Islam, this is the official. But at the same time, no, it doesn't. It means sexual intercourse. That's what it means. But it can also be
the F
mean.
word. Say it. It means the F word.
Yeah, it says fuck. Yeah, but at the same time, it means marriage.
Without euphemism.
I need to bleep this. Hold on. What was the time? 1 hour, 2 minutes. Yeah. So
Mm.
come back and bleep it. But here's the thing. It has double meaning. I'm serious now. It does have marriage. It does mean marriage, and it does mean intercourse. Two meanings. But there were those cute Muslims, Arabic Muslims, who keep saying, no, no, it doesn't mean intercourse. It just means marriage. But there is a verse in the Quran basically says sinners. What does zina mean in English? Does it have
Adultery.
a name?
Adultery.
Adulterer. Yeah, adulterers will only yankah adulterer women, and adulterer women will only tankah adulterer men. So that's what it meant. So those
Yes.
who have sex outside marriage can only marry those who have sex outside marriage. Marry, but it didn't say marry, it says yankah. So does the Quran says it is forbidden to an adulterer to marry a normal woman unless she is an adulterer as well? Is that what it means? Or it says, no, it's a curse. They will only have sex with other adulterers. It's just so confusing. If you just step back, have a critical thinking, and read that verse, it means absolutely BS.
Yes, it's because they are embarrassed by this. They use special pleading, just to maybe they're trying to convince themselves and
Yeah.
what they're doing with all other interpretation. It's not easy. if I were a Muslim, which I was a Muslim before, and I did this before, I tried to convince myself that this is what it means. But when you look at it, it's embarrassing.
It is really embarrassing. That's why we used to keep lying to ourselves and find other meanings to it. And those new cute Muslims are doing exactly the same. So, which kind of a good thing, because that means they are on the right path. They will get to what we got to.
I don't agree. I don't agree. I mean, but this is another subject. I
It
think
is, yes.
I think you should tell it as it is. Call a spade a spade. It's deception. I feel it's deception.
But we used to do that, didn't we?
Why do you want to why do you want to make excuses for God? Like if religion is true, then it should have its trueness in its verse and itself. You don't have to reinterpret it and reinterpret it. Now anytime, now when I go and say something, say, oh no, that's not what it meant, it means this. And if you look, each and every Muslim has his own interpretation, not even a sect. Each Muslim for each verse has his own interpretation,
And
because
is that is bad thing, because I see it a good thing. I see it as a very good thing, because that means vast majority of Muslims that we know started to reject the norms, started to reject what it
I wish
means, because
I
they
wish
can see it so they can see it is ugly and they cannot see it like that. So they start to create something beautiful for themselves.
Yes,
They're
Usam,
not
but the problem
sheep
is
anymore.
it's
problem
their
is this
it's,
this
it's not their rejection. They are not rejecting. They're just making excuse, as if, like I used to do, like, oh, okay, I don't understand it that the way it's supposed to be. So wronging myself to write God. So this is not how religion.
No, I think we're talking about different subjects. I'm talking about those who they will actually reject what Ibn Kathir says. They will reject what the Qurtubi says when it comes to explaining what the Quran says. They will reject all that, and they will find a new translation to themselves that will actually fit in with the morality of the 21st century. Those are the people who I mean. Those people are getting more and more these days. We can see them in our Facebook groups and on Twitter. When we say, well, the Quran says so and so, and they will say, yeah, I don't agree with that interpretation. I interpret it as X, Y, Z, which is actually not
like
so bad.
Shahrur, like Shahrur, Adnan Ibrahim.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly, Adnan Ibrahim and Shahrur and all these people.
I still think they are deceptive. I still think they.
But the problem, Ruby, is yani, those moderate, let's call them moderate Muslims. They are the ones who meet with new converts. Those are who decept those new converts
Not
and give them,
necessarily.
a
Not necessarily.
very shiny Islamic, they depict a very shiny Islamic
They've been
version.
called apostates, by the majority of Muslims.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's. I feel it's. Just call it.
It's a dilemma.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. I think they're doing more harm to Islam than anybody. That the old interpreters and the Orthodox Muslim. Uh,
Hmm.
I feel these new ones are making more of a problem, because anytime a person might go back and look at those interpretation, and there will be a going back to the orthodoxy. And it happened in the history. Like if you remember in the 60s and the beginning of 70s, in the Arab countries, we weren't so orthodox in our beliefs. Islam was new in these countries, and there were a lot of Sufism that intermingled with the interpretation of Quran, and there were a lot of love. And you don't find the word love in Quran. I did not find one word of love, that God is loving. I haven't.
There is only mawadda. That's it.
Mawadda is different, and mawadda wa rahma, this is between spouses. But I'm talking about God. I personally haven't seen. So
There is
Well,
one, I
I
think.
have Quran
يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه.
hold
Something
on.
like
I have
this.
Quran in MS Word, so I can search in it very quickly. I search for the
Search
word hub, which is love.
يحبهم ويحبونه.
which
Only
verse is
the
this?
word hub is mentioned only twice, and one says فقال إني أحببت حب الخير. I loved the love of good,
Love of good.
and the one Al Imran verse 14 زين للناس حب الشهوات, and
No,
he made
that's not.
loving the pleasures
No, wait, Wissam.
nice to people.
The first verse, I've never heard about it. حب الخير. What is that?
حب الخير. Yeah.
Which verse is that?
Oh, there it is. Sorry, حب الخير. There it is. Yeah, that's in Surah Sad, verse 33. فقال إني أحببت حب الخير عن ذكر ربي حتى توارت
No,
بالحجاب.
you're taking it out of context. I'm talking about God. Okay, see again. Now you're talking about a story here. Now I'm talking
yeah.
about
No, you're
God
right.
and
That's a story.
So I haven't found, any
No, doesn't exist.
word of God loving. I forgot what I was talking about.
For the love
So
of
it
God.
doesn't. Yeah, it's not about love. I keep thinking of Sinead O'Connor. She is riddled with psychological issues, and I can only imagine
We don't need more
those.
psychopaths.
Uh, yeah, you're right. We don't need more psychopaths,
We
but at the
have
same
enough.
time, she was in a. I bet she was in a low state of mind when someone actually used that against her and started talking to her about how Islam is good and all that. And for someone like Sinead O'Connor, who at some point she shaved her head, she, as I said, riddled with psychological issues, and most artists do. That's why they became artists, basically. Uh, and how did I keep thinking about it? I wish I can meet her someday and just ask her this question: how you got convinced to convert to Islam? What were you told? Did you try to actually read these things
You
and
know,
find what they mean?
you know, most of the people that I met, the converts that I met, personally, this is my personal experience. A lot of them had bad or troublesome upbringing in a Christian family, and they think of Islam as the utopia that will take them, away from this threshold. Of course, they hear all the good things, and they don't know. They don't know what's the real thing about Islam. They don't know that when somebody wants to convert you to his religion, he's definitely going to talk about good stuff. He's not going to talk about, bad stuff. So
Definitely not going to mention Kawa'id al-Traba.
It's marketing, yeah.
it's marketing strategy, and you see it also not only between converts, also the new generation of the immigrants. The new generation have not seen how, if coming from Saudi Arabia or Iran, how could an Islamic state, a theological state, how could it treat its citizen? Actually, there is no citizenship in a theological state. It's like the king and his ra'iyah, which is
Subject.
the subjects or the sheep in our language.
The herd, yeah.
Yeah, ra'iyah, sheep. So anyway, they living under a secular law. They know their rights. They know their freedom and personal freedom. freedom of choice. They have all this, but because of the little problems that they face, they think of the utopian Islam. So you see
Mhm.
more of orthodox than even their parents. They become more orthodox, and these can be recruited easily by mosque mullahs or mosque orators of Friday orators. So they recruit them. And that's the bad thing. This is the hard thing. Because they haven't seen that. They think all their problems are going to be solved if they were under, Islamic State. So this is some of the converts. Other converts, um, they converted only because they wanted to marry their sweethearts, and they don't know anything
Oh
about
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Vast majority of them. I
it.
actually I know one of them.
And once they divorce, I've seen a lot of divorces, they deconvert again. They go back to the religion. But of course, they are here, they're living here. If they were living in an Islamic state, then the situation would be different.
Ruby, you remind me of one of my neighbors here in the States. And the lady was talking to my wife, and she said, my husband is thinking about atheism and he doesn't like religion anymore. They're Christians. And she said, I told him, you know what? Don't be an atheist. If you want to convert to any other religion, it's okay, but don't be an atheist, please. So she was asking my wife about Islamic books. And I was there listening, and I couldn't talk. I couldn't say anything because my wife is a Muslim. So I said, no, don't read those books. I mean, those books are the worst thing in the life. I mean, I wanted to talk, but that's it. And my wife, I think, I'm not sure if she gave her already those books, who like it shows you how Islam is, like heaven. It's full of roses and it's all kisses and hugs. I don't know what's
If
happening with this guy. I hope he's okay.
If I were you, I would have suggested that she wouldn't give her the books, but ask her today in this time and age, people can do searches on Google. I mean, just Google it and
Exactly.
look for the bad, and look what usually what Christians are saying about the Muslims are the,
It's true.
and what Muslims are saying about Christians are the thing. So if you want to understand any religion, go to the opposite side and listen to them. Not to,
We know,
because there's
Ruby.
a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
send her
truth.
this episode. I'm gonna send it to her. So
that's
Yeah,
I
actually
won't be
what
in the picture.
truth.
that's Ruby.
I'm gonna
That's
send this
actually what I
episode.
do
Say,
when I do
listen.
my shopping. If I want to buy anything, I will check the ratings and I will read the reviews that gave only 1 star.
True, exactly.
Even if it's 99% 5 stars. Now I'll find for those who gave. I'll try to find those who gave 1 star and read their experience. Why did they give 1 star? There might be something really bad. Majority of people are fine with, but I won't. And then I'll read it, and if it's something I'm okay with it, then it's fine. So
Exactly.
it's
You
you
want to
mentioned
know
something.
the problem, because everybody's gonna paint it like with roses. But if you want to look for the bad things in each, to be cautious of that. There's this guy called, I think you know him, Rashid Hamami. He
Mhm.
he was a Muslim, and then he converted to Christianity, and now he's giving these episodes about the good features of Christianity and the bad feature of Islam. Now, if you when Muslims or even atheists say, I don't want to listen to him because he's praising Christianity and degrading Islam, I say, don't listen to that part. Listen to the Islamic only, because what he's saying, we know that he is trying to praise Christianity, and he's not talking about the bad things in Christianity, but at least listen to what he says and try to look. Then you look, don't believe him, take whatever he's saying and look further into that. And this is the way to learn, not to go to someone and just ask, okay, give me the books. I want to learn about your religion. Of course, they're going to give you the best, the most sunshine, uh, um, art.
The, the way I explain Brother Rashid, he likes to be called, I would say he was someone who was addicted to Coke, but he moved on to crystal meth, and he keeps telling you about the bad things about Coke. So if you don't, if you addicted to Coke and you want to quit, watch Brother Rashid. He will tell you all the nice things about crystal meth and all the bad things about Coke. I need to go before we end the broadcast. I want to mention
That's a
something.
good analogy.
Thank you. Something you mentioned about those cute Muslims who were born Muslims, but they live a secular life. Uh, Again, last week, Walid Video Vids, his wife, she's called Mimsy, and she has her own channel, Mimsy Vids. Brilliant young lady. If you go to her channel, Mimsy Vids, she did a video a while back around the time when Sultan of Brunei said we'll start to apply Sharia law and homosexuals will be stoned to death. So she grabbed a mic and a camera and stood out in front of the YouTube station in East London, in an area heavily populated by Muslims, and they just stood there waiting for Muslim people to walk by and stop them and ask them about, what do you think about that? So they are living in the international capital, that is London, near a heavily populated Muslim area, near a very big mall. So what do you think about stoning homosexuals? And you can see it on their faces. They know they live in Europe. They live in London. They cannot say Sharia law. But at the same time, they will, yeah, no, well, each to their own. But in Islam, I don't really, I, and it was 15 minutes of pure joy to me, looking at them squirming, struggling with the 21st century morality. They know what Sharia says. They know what Islam looks and says to homosexuals. And they were actually struggling. You can see it on their faces. They were really struggling to match the two things. Real life, 21st century, secular country like Britain. They live in London. And Sharia law, stone them to death, throw them from height. By the way, if you are homosexual and you want a new drug and you don't like coke and you're thinking of moving to crystal meth, don't go to crystal meth, because the punishment for homosexuality is not only stoning, but they will throw you from a high place.
As simple as that.
Just like that. And on
If you
that
have a
bombshell,
parachute. Wissam, you remind me of of a joke. I watched it on a stand-up comedy.
Mhm.
That guy he said, you know what? I'm not religious, but I don't like the attitude of atheists because life is like a thin rope up in the sky, and we are all walking on this rope carefully, not to fall, and terrified because we've seen people. So he said, then you hear a sound, someone whispers in your ear. He said, you know what? It's okay. I heard when you fall, there's a net down there. It's gonna catch you and you'll be okay. Then you say to yourself, all right, then. It's okay. Then suddenly an atheist from far behind, he yells at you, there's no net. You're gonna fall and die.
we're all gonna fall to the abyss. That's
It's
it.
BS. There's no net.
Here comes our angel. Hello, Naveen.
Naveen,
Oh,
Naveen.
Good
Hello.
morning,
Naveen,
beautiful.
there's no net, Naveen.
There is no net. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there is no net.
There is no net. We're all going to nothingness. Naveen,
Nothing.
you chose not the perfect time, but the most horrible time to come join us. I was about to end the broadcast. Now I have
And
to. Oh no, I can't do
Now we
that.
are shooting
no,
penalties already.
No, she cannot do that.
I just woke up, as you all know, it's 6 a.m., 6:20 in Australia. So good
Yeah,
morning
I
from
think the time
Australia.
difference
Good
between Britain
morning.
and Australia is about 4.5 days.
Yeah, pretty much. And I thought I can't pass the chance. I have to come and say good morning as I have my morning coffee. I think what you're doing is very, very important. And I had to say, thank you for doing this because I think it's important for people in the West to hear the voice of an ex-Muslim from the Middle East. It's not because I hate Islam or I have some agenda against it. It's quite the opposite. I love everyone. I love all people, as you would all. You all love all people, and you want the good for all societies and communities around the world, because this is the world we live in. We need to live in a peaceful world. None of us want to hurt anyone else, and I feel like. Islam is just like Christianity, is just like any other religion. It needs to go through the natural evolution of all the ideas that we had throughout our history. But the problem is that it's being protected, and there's a lot of resistance for change amongst Muslim people. And the funny thing is, the West is supporting that resistance
Hold
instead
on, hold
of.
on, hold on.
Sure.
Now we're back. Server cut off for a few seconds. Now we're back. Thank you. Sorry about that. Continue.
Oh, no problem. The amazing thing is that the West is supporting this resistance instead of encouraging the Islamic world to
The
go
far,
through.
the far left is supporting.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing, because you have the far left supports that resistance instead of encouraging Muslim people to go through the natural evolution that all other religions went through, so that they can live in a fair, just, comfortable, free world like the rest of the world. And the far right is, sometimes go to crazy ideas of uh, discrimination or hatred or spreading these feelings. I'm not going to talk about the far right and the discrimination today. I just want to say that out of respect for Muslim people, we need to do this. We need to talk about Islam. We need to treat them with the respect they deserve as mature adults who can evaluate the thoughts the ideas that they believe in, and who can withstand criticism, and who are just like the rest of us. I heard, I think it was Sam Harris, or maybe it was, no, it wasn't Sam Harris. It was someone in England. I just can't think of his name right now. But he said it's really disrespectful to Muslim people to tread on eggshells around them, because it's as if you're telling them they are not capable of discussing ideas and understanding the difference between criticizing an idea and criticizing a person, or criticizing an idea, or and telling a person they can't believe in it, or they don't have the right to believe in it. No, you have the right to believe in what you believe, but you need to understand I have the right to criticize it too. I have the right to say, I don't like this idea. I don't like these values. And that means we are both equal. We are both mature adults who can do this. I don't need to treat you like you're a child who's going to have a tantrum if I talk about your religion. And so I think this is very important. And I think it's important for the West to hear this voice, and for Muslims who have grown up in the West to hear your voice as well. I'm not an ex-Muslim myself, but I support and encourage you to do this, and I'm really glad you are. So thank you.
Oh no, thank you, mate. Why am I
I,
speaking in Australian accent? I have no idea. But thank you, mate.
I,
It's been
I
lovely
agree
hearing your
with you,
voice.
Naveen. I agree completely with you. I have nothing against Muslims. Muslims are my family, and I love them. But Muslims have for centuries have been raised to criticize everything but their own religion, and no religion should have a free pass. No religion. You should criticize anything, and religion is no exception. And when you criticize your religion, you realize then if you want to be a believer, this is between you and your God. Nobody cares. But if you want to impose it on others, which is the real doctrine of Islam, persists on teaching its adherents, then it's a no way. You shouldn't cross that threshold. So we should call. That's why I'm not against any. I'm with secular society, with secular constitutions, and not against anybody who wants to believe whatever they want to believe. But I also, as you mentioned, I have the right to criticize. This religion does not belong to anybody. It was my religion to start with, so I can criticize even if it wasn't my religion. I have the right to criticize it, like criticizing anything else.
Spot on. Thank you very much. And on that bombshell, I know we've just had Naveen with us, but we've been on for about 90 minutes, and I can actually hear my wife actually sharpening the knives. She will cut off my throat if I stay one more minute. And because I am man of the house, I am afraid of my wife, and I need to end this broadcast.
Why يا Sam واضربوهن?
No, that doesn't work with my Muslim wife. She somehow she interpreted differently.
Maybe she takes the interpretation of beat your means, or from Rida Aslan, who says beat them means
Stay away.
no, means cuddle them.
Stay away from them.
Okay, no. Her translation means
Something
she
like
will
that.
beat me up.
That's right. Good woman.
I'm with her interpretation, to be honest.
Yeah, So I unfortunately I need to end the broadcast.
Okay.
I would like to thank Ruby, ex-Muslim ID, and Naveen, of course. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for those who commented, participated, shared the video, and hopefully in the future we will do some of these English podcasts as well. But eventually we'll definitely do a series of standalone videos describing what we want to do. Just basically the message that check what you are going into. Just read the small print, people. And on that bombshell, thank you again. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay,